Thank you very much for turning up. You probably don't know who the hell we are. We are Wandering into Wellness. I'm one half of the Finn Murray, and I own a health food store in Rathmines. I'm just fascinated by all things health, and my partner and myself, Lydia Sass, who's just over on the far side there, came together about 6 months ago with a weird little dream to share our topics that we're madly passionate about.
Yeah, so we just felt like there was this huge wealth of knowledge here in Ireland, loads of practitioners, loads of experts in different fields, and that everyone was around listening to podcasts at the moment, and they're listening to podcasts and go, hey, that person's great, I'd love to go see that person, but they live in America, or they live miles away. And so we thought it would be really nice to get a collection of interviews together with people who live here in Ireland, so that people who are listening to our podcasts and found the topics interesting could actually go and see those people or benefit from their experience. So that's what we've been doing. We've got 20 podcasts live now on Spotify and
iTunes and YouTube, yeah.
So you can see them, they're all videos as well, and they're all filmed out and about in beautiful areas around Ireland and also around Europe. So if you want to check us out, we're Wandering into Wellness, you can see it on the links there.
You can buy our merch, not today. Didn't say that, sorry. So our other exciting thing is today sometimes we have very special guests, and today we have a very, very special guest, Jamie White. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is some experience. It's so funny speaking in this kind of setting. More normally, like when you do a podcast, it's in a sound kind of clouded room where you can't hear anything, you can't see anything. This is brilliant.
I feel like hyper-stimulated right at the minute. Hopefully we can stay somewhat on track towards our topic, which is...
We're talking today about biohacking. And so we're looking at different ways that you can change the physiology of your body, your mental attitude, your approach to stress, how you process that in your body, your breathing.
Yeah. So Jamie, basically, from what I know of Jamie White, he's a serial entrepreneur, I think it's fair to say.
Thank you very much.
A good serial entrepreneur as well. He's some good stuff. And he's also a bit of a ridiculous self-guinea pig when it comes to his own health. He's done umpteen different diets, and some people apply those things and they try them for a week, and then 5 days later they're like, oh yeah, well I was kind of keto for 4 days there, and like, you weren't really keto, were you? But Jamie is one of these people who goes to the ends of the earth, so he'll do a month or 2 months or 6 months or something, try it, if it works, keep it, if it doesn't work, drop it. And so today we're really keen to find out some of his insights, explore his background, and maybe put some kind of relevance in there for you guys as well. So we would love for you as well to ask us questions. If you have anything you've done yourself, you have something to share, or you want to ask us something during the chat, stick your hand up or just run up here, I don't know, say hello, whatever, and we'll try and kind of feed into what your particular needs are as well, because it's only relevant if it's relevant to you.
I have to say it's so funny to be in a position where actually what I do is appreciated. So with all my mates, they'd look at me and they'd be like, what phase are you on now, or what experiment are you doing? And it's generally kind of a real easy kind of criticism. So this is fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, rare moment. That's kind of the same with me and my mates. I'm so used to being out and people are kind of like, oh, what are you doing at the moment? I was like, well, I took a load of zinc and glutathione and glutamine and probiotics and milk thistle and vitamin C, so I won't be sick in the morning. They're like, oh, just shut up and have a pint.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. And so actually, interesting supplements this morning. What did you take?
Oh Jesus.
Is it long?
Yeah. So first thing was getting up, and it's funny, people think of supplements as in like tablet basis, but I actually think probably one of the most impactful, this is going to sound real hippie, but like one of the most impactful supplements you can do is before you get out of bed, you think of what you're grateful for. And I know that's cliche, and I know so many people have heard that so many times, but the fact of the matter is they've heard it so many times because it really works.
Yeah.
So the very first supplement is a bit of gratitude. And
where did you buy that?
But it's unbelievable actually the days you do it versus the days you don't. So the thing for me is I keep a diary. I keep a diary every day, and I'll keep a diary not like I did this and I did this, but more so I felt like this, and I kind of match it to whatever patterns I'm on or whatever habits I'm on, because I think a lot of the time if you adopt a new habit, it's very soon that normalizes and it's very hard to appreciate what's good versus bad. But if you've diared it down, you can reflect. So number one was a bit of gratitude this morning.
Cool.
Then I got out of bed. I'm a big believer in kind of lemon, hot water and salt. First thing you do.
So why do you do that? Explain to the folks.
To be honest, so whereas you'll actually come at it from a much more, I suppose, scientific basis. For me, I'm one of these people. I think I saw it on my Facebook newsfeed, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Let's try this. And after trying it, like I always think it's interesting, a lot of these things, if you try them for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you don't really get much of an impact. But if you try it for 4 weeks or 8 weeks, and then you look at that 4 or 8 week period versus before, I think you get a real wake-up effect. It's a real cleansing effect, and it's almost like, I suppose, the same feeling people would say they get from a coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, I when it comes to like a lot of people, when they talk about biohacking, they get very scientific.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's just
How you feel.
It's how I feel,
Yeah.
and so I actually don't know a huge amount of the scientific background around the kind of habits that I follow or the things that I do, other than the fact that this makes me feel good, I'm going to do it. This makes me feel bad, I'm not going to do it. So it's all own experience.
Lydia's kind of like that as well, right? That's because I'm the annoying nerd in the gang I'm dying to tap into the science of Himalayan pink salt, but I think maybe I'll leave you to that. But yeah.
I think that what's interesting for me is the fact that it's really easy for us to get tied into letting other people heal us or handing over our health to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really like is to think about the intuition around that kind of stuff and going like, how does this feel in my body, and that being just as justified as going to see someone and letting them tell you what to do with your body. That's not to say you should listen to what your doctor's telling you. None of the stuff that we say today is replacing what your doctor tells you. But what I do think is that we have to take a certain amount of ownership over our bodies and over our health. And when we go to see other people, we naturally abdicate that responsibility because we're listening to them, and we stop listening to what our bodies are telling us. And what's right for one person might be not right for other people. So I think when we get to that point of actually journeying it in the scientific way that you are doing, where you're going, does this actually feel good? Do I get actual results from this? I think that's just as valid as diving into the science. Although it might be nice to know something about the science, and you can shed light on that.
Oh yeah. So Himalayan salt, why is it different from other salts? Is it Himalayan pink salt you're using?
Absolutely, yeah. But it's a much greater mineral content.
Exactly. So instead of like being predominantly sodium chloride and potassium, it's full of 86 trace minerals. So all the trace minerals that our body really requires, and they're so important for everything. So when you see, if anyone ever has a chance to do it, I'd encourage you to do a thing called live blood cell analysis, where somebody takes a little bit of blood from you and puts it under the microscope, and you can see instantly whether the cells are hydrated or not hydrated. If they're not hydrated, they clump together, and that makes a massive difference in terms of cellular communication. So all the time we're trying to generate energy, basically it's about things getting into and out of our cells. So that cell membrane needs to be hydrated and needs to have space all the way around. And one of the things that mineral salts do, particularly Himalayan salt, is that it allows to balance the osmotic pressure to allow those cells to have space around them and allow that communication into and outside cells. So it generates energy in a really significant way, hence the caffeine-like results.
Boom.
There you go.
Oh gosh.
Sorry.
I don't know if you noticed me sitting up straight there. I was like, whoa, okay, we're in serious company here.
Have we got any note takers? I don't know.
Yeah, God.
Okay, I'll stop. But like, when did you start? So you're both talking about tuning into your bodies.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not that tuned into my body. I'm like, as you can hear, very cerebral. I have to really make an effort to sit and feel how things feel. You as a young man, I would imagine there is some parallels there. Like, when did you start to really tune into how your body felt, result of things? Like, or how did you do that? Like, when did you turn into a weirdo?
I grew up in a boarding school.
Okay.
So we had 4 hours study every day in boarding school, and the fact of the matter is you woke up at the same time every day, you went to sleep at the same time every day, and having that kind of time, I was like, well, what am I going to do with this time? And I suppose I started using that time to go, okay, well, we ate this for lunch yesterday and this is how I felt, and we did this today and this is how I felt. And so I suppose I kind of used the time that I had then. And
I'm not going to ask your friends who did it most that time. About a 14-year-old boys.
No, but it's actually fascinating. Like, I think we're all inclined to distract ourselves a whole load with everything that's outside, but actually there's such a fascinating adventure into yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, what I found is, as I was scrolling through my news feeds on Facebook, and I'd see, do this, it's amazing, and then something completely contrary that would say, do this, it's amazing. And I thought, you know what, there's so much information out there and so much of it is in contradiction to the previous, that probably the best thing to do is actually just to start trialing, start experimenting, start seeing what uniquely works for me. And I think that's something that so many people actually should do, rather than delegating onto somebody else. Actually kind of look into themselves. I think, as I said, it's a fascinating adventure, and I think it's a very strengthening adventure. You know, when you uniquely find what works for you, and if you structure or build that out, you almost build this, in effect, this biohack that is unique to yourself, uniquely complementary. And I think once you start figuring out what works for you, it gives you this competitive edge that's, I think, really, really, really exciting.
It makes sense, because one of the things I'm always telling Lydia will say to me, like, oh, Finn, I have this and this problem, and I'll say, oh, well, use this for it, and she'll say, oh, that doesn't work for me. I'm like, damn it, but the studies say it should, you know. And so it's so true that, you know, when you start to build a real awareness of how supplements work for you, like it's like the 5th to the 95th percentile or whatever, you're just standing outside that for a lot of things that work for other people. So your first foray into kind of like self-hacking or whatever was it Tony Robbins? Is that right?
Yeah, I became fascinated with Tony Robbins. It actually kind of caught in a little bit before. So my brother kind of passed me this Bible-like book called The Game. It's written by Neil Strauss. It's sort of
Any game fans out there? Zero game fans? Okay, that's grand.
Okay, well, anyway, basically it's all around hooking up, but it's on the basis of applied social psychology. And
so you should be fans.
It breaks it down in a really simple fashion. And anyway, a little while after he gave me that book, my parents sent me off to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. And it's interesting when you experience something naively and then you experience something with a bit of added perspective. And I had the perspective of that book behind it. So suddenly I looked at, you know, what he's pushing, how he's communicating, the manner in which he's communicating, how people connect, and it became fascinating. But what followed that day was there was a living health seminar,
okay.
And there was a lot of messaging in that I thought was really, really interesting. So the first kind of thing was work on your head. Over and above what you eat, over and above what you drink, work on your head as a first priority, because without your head, you're gone. And then following that, they talked about what you drink, drinking obviously enough water, drinking good quality water, not drinking other substances. They talked about coffee really negatively, which I think is interesting. Okay. That's very open to interpretation. But there was a huge amount in that, and I found it fascinating. As I said, some of it kind of contradicted some of the things I really enjoyed, so I said, right, let's dive in, let's see what works, what doesn't from there.
Okay. So did you drop coffee, and have you taken coffee since?
Oh no, I never really took to coffee,
okay.
But more recently I love bullet coffees. I think they're fantastic. And I'm really, really interested in coffee with CBD oil. It's just you get this kind of very calm high off the back of it.
Has anyone here tried CBD oil? Yes? Cool. Will you take it regularly? Oh, there we go. Somebody, you have, well, maybe you haven't, but you look like you might. You have done. You should. Give us your experience. We'll repeat it for other people loudly.
No, I didn't notice any psychological effects at all. Information about the injury that I've
You mentioned the what, sorry?
just like information and the injury that
Okay, yeah, so that's a weird thing. One of the things with CBD oil, because it comes from the hemp plant, it's accessing, so it's kind of like a secondary nervous system that we have, this endocannabinoid system, which is like, let's say our central nervous system, which is where all the nerve impulses and muscle kind of like contractions and all that sort of stuff come from. This secondary thing is this endocannabinoid system, and what it essentially is like, if you imagine the central nervous system is like a superhighway, like a motorway, the endocannabinoid system is kind of like the dirt track that runs alongside it. It still interacts with every cell, and it has this same systemic effect in terms of calming our nervous system, modulating inflammation, supporting our immune system, but it's not as predictable in terms of its response, and it tends to go where it's needed first. So this man was saying that it didn't have any effect on calming him, but it helped with an injury. It's a really interesting thing. So you were using it predominantly to calm you though, yeah?
So I because I don't have many kind of stimulants.
Yeah.
So I don't have coffee regularly, but when I do have coffee, I get like a mad kind of jittery high.
Okay.
But as soon as I put CBD oil in the coffee, I don't get a jittery high.
There you go. That's cool.
It's fantastic.
Wow.
Really interesting.
Nice. You're not a coffee fan, right?
No.
We have to find really nice
I
decaf.
used to drink a lot of coffee when I was doing exams.
Yeah.
I was one of those kind of nerdy people that like to really study, and I had to study long hours. And I drank loads of coffee, and then one day I think my body just went, no, you may not have coffee anymore. And so now when I drink it, it just gives me ferocious headache.
Yeah.
Really bad.
For some people it just doesn't work, and there's no, like, don't think any amount of CBD oil in your coffee is going to control your
We
response.
also had an unusual experience with CBD oil chocolates, right?
Oh, that was weird.
So
Yeah.
that didn't calm us at all.
No, it didn't have. So we got, bizarre. We're bringing this up. Okay. So I was in London in April, and I was in a little cafe, and they had these little CBD oil chocolate things that looked very like the sort of thing you might have found in a head shop in Amsterdam, but it was CBD oil, so I was like, it's legit. Took them back to Ireland. Lydia and myself were going for a walk up a mountain
To do a podcast.
to do a podcast. and we decided to take those chocolates. And so sometimes CBD has a really elevating effect, but I've never felt anything like that. Maybe I'm not sure if that was the sort of effect we were expecting that day. But we managed to shoot. We shot a podcast. We drove home.
Somehow we did.
Yeah.
I was not in this plane.
It was a bit hash brownie experience, to be honest.
Wow, look at you guys.
We were by a whole lot of wind turbines. So what's the name of the place?
Oh, it's in Roscommon somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Sleep on. There you go.
Sleep on,
Thank you.
exactly. And we just spent quite a long time sitting.
We're just
so
walking.
The wind turbines just going, wow, that's so evil. And I was like, oh my god, we have to do it like that.
We've got something to do with our day.
Woke up the mountain, do it. So yeah, it's not always calming.
Yeah. So yeah, fair point. So anyway, that works for you. Coffee's.
Sorry, I'm just thinking like, lucky you guys. You're like, oh, this was a disaster, but good on you.
Well, we tried. You know, that's the important thing, isn't it? I guess kind of lashing into it.
Big time. I think it's just very interesting how so many people they don't try things because they're not the done thing. Or they're told, look, that's actually not good for you. But for some people, it actually can be really complimentary. That's why I do think it's so important that people make their decisions based on their own experiences rather than others, because we are all uniquely different.
Absolutely.
But if we spend all our time following what other people do, that almost pulls you away from yourself. And there's that great quote, no one can be a better you than you. So in the pursuit of yourself, you should try and experiment.
That's your unique superpower, is just being you. At some level. So you have experimented with lots and lots and lots of different diets, and I'm fascinated to dig into every single one of them.
But
like, give us an idea, like what ones are you on at the moment? What have you done before?
So I'd be following a keto diet at the moment.
Okay.
I think it's really interesting. Is there any vegans in the crowd? Any vegans? No? Great.
Not a vegan in sight. That's a rarity.
Yeah, wow. But what I think is really interesting is when you cycle one diet, say over a 3-4 month period, and then you dramatically shift it and cycle a different diet.
Yeah.
For me, there's this great saying by Thomas Jefferson: if you do the same thing tomorrow that you did today, you'll get tomorrow what you got today. And so for me, every kind of month or every 2 months, I'll look at things for where I'm at. I'm like, okay, what am I enjoying? Let's double down on that. And what am I not? Well, let's stop that. And then you follow that process for a month, 2 months, and take stock again. And it's really interesting. Those little changes can make obviously dramatic shifts down the line. So I was following a vegan diet, very strictly vegan diet for about 3-4 months.
Right.
And what was so interesting, like I hear so much positive endorsement over a vegan diet that, you know, everybody should follow a vegan diet. It's fantastic. My sister is a very strong vegan advocate.
She's going to hate what you say next.
Yeah, but there's so much positive media about it that I thought, you know what, God, if I follow a vegan diet, I'll be superhuman. Let's follow a vegan diet. And the thing that I literally week on week after following this diet found was that I became more and more nervous, very, very stress sensitive, very agitated, very anxious, and it was weird. It just didn't agree with me whatsoever. And then when I switched off, onto a keto diet, it was amazing watching my stress just sink, my anxiety sink, and my confidence grow. Weird. My sleep quality grow. I actually had all these muscle aches from a vegan diet, and suddenly I didn't.
Okay. Have you trained a lot? Like, was it muscle aches from training, or was it just generally?
Yeah. So I train every day, and so like I
maintain that training during the vegan diet. Did you
no,
actually stick at it?
That was actually interesting. So prior, I would have kept it steadily, but then as soon as as I kicked into a vegan diet, I quite strictly follow a kind of a daily regime or a daily routine, and it just went all over the place.
Wow.
I found myself not being able to sleep, waking up a bit late, not being kind of chasing my day, which I thought was so interesting. And then, as I said, I shifted it. And within about a week, everything kind of settles back in to the way I wanted it. So I think, So a keto diet is it's a high fat diet. It's a low protein. It's a pretty much no carb, and it's literally no sugar diet. Now it sounds a bit odd, but actually, if you think, a lot of delicious things are fat. For me, it's quite an indulgent diet, and I followed a thing where you intermittent fast, which is if you eat between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. and you don't eat outside those windows. The idea is to give your system a bit of a rest, because there's nothing more exhausting for your body than digesting food. So you could go on a sex marathon, and still digesting a steak is going to be more taxing on your body. So, sorry.
That's an interesting choice. Woo! Okay, fair enough. Or just a marathon of any sort.
But no, it's interesting because
Sorry.
But if you think about it, like, if you go on a marathon,
Yeah, okay. 26
you
miles
will be physically exhausted. But if you eat a steak, you'll just sit on a couch.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, actually, it's more exhausting on the inside than it is on the outside. But you'll feel a marathon a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. So that 3 o'clock slump that everyone talks about is very real, because your body's saying, listen, I have enough energy to devote to digesting them. I've sent all the blood flow to my organs, where I'm gonna, masticate all this food. I'm gonna produce all these chemicals to break it down. Like, there's a lot of energy involved in that. The glucose required for it, as well as used up or as produced as a result of it. The nice thing with the keto diet is that, like, if you don't want to go through, like, what Jamie does is like hardcore nutritional ketosis, where he's eating like 60, 80, 100 grams of carbs a day. Like,
no, way less. Way less.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, like, for most, I would have hundreds of grams of carbohydrate in my diet per day. But what I do is I fast for 15 to 16 hours a day, and so I get into ketosis, but I don't maintain that all day long. But even that little blip of ketosis, I find that it stabilizes blood sugar levels in a real way. It's amazing. The energy responses.
Well, they say it's a very complementing diet if you're high stress, if you're working a lot. It's a very, very complementing diet. But to be honest, I think what's more interesting is the whole intermittent fasting thing. There's so much talk about it at the moment, but what it's so interesting in that it plays into that whole thought that digesting food is so exhausting. But so again, you start looking at, well, geez, I'm eating food for energy, but is that food actually taking more energy out of me to a certain point? And then you start looking at, okay, well, what foods are easily digestible and high in energy? And well, there you go for your fats. And so for me with this diet, anyway, certainly I find I have a lot more energy. I have a lot less slumps, and like a lot of people, they're almost unconsciously conscious of the effect food has on them, in that they'll eat something and they'll feel warm and happy. They'll eat another thing and they'll feel a bit kind of depressed and sensitive. Food has such an amazing emotional effect on people that people kind of they talk about how important it is to talk, and how important it is to really to look after your head, but actually your diet has a massive effect on that. So it's a two-way street as well. What you put in your gut affects your brain. How you think affects your gut. It's like the two are actually working in tandem.
And also, I think we always forget that digestion works on both levels. Like, there's digestion of our food, and then there's digestion of information.
Yeah.
So when we're not digesting food and we're freeing up that stuff for our body, we're able to digest information a lot more. So say you're doing a course, or I'm a yoga teacher, so when you do a yoga teacher training, it's a lot of information that you're digesting all of the time, and if you're eating and snacking constantly, you're way less able to take that information and process it. So things like intermittent fasting are really good for that. If you have a lot of work to do, or you need to do something like talk or something like that, where you need to use your brain power, then fasting can actually free up that stuff that you need in order to do that, rather than depleting your energy levels at the same time.
I think what you're touching on is fascinating for me. Like, just actually taking a little bit of time out, and you'll push into a more kind of mindfulness space now, or a meditation space, where you actually give your head a bit of a rest. And it's amazing how actually strengthening that is in the long run. And then it's only once you start doing it that you realize, geez, if I don't do this, I really feel a negative consequence. And in doing it, there's such a strengthening effect. So even taking 10 minutes a day to literally lie down, relax, and try and actually relax your head has such a massive effect.
You were saying that Tony Robbins was talking about how the first thing that you need to do is address your head, right? So the first thing in the morning, that's what you would do. What would that look like for you in terms of, would you be doing meditation or mindfulness or just...
Well, for me, obviously it's the kind of first piece in terms of gratitude. Second piece in terms of I've literally just hot water, lemon, and Himalayan rock salt. It's simple. Third piece is actually yoga. So I do 30 minutes of yoga. It's guided. I know it's funny. I do it at home. I do it on YouTube with a girl called Yoga with Adrian, who I've half fallen in love with now. It's ridiculous, but it's fantastic. It's no.
She's American.
But she's but it's amazing that you can literally just open up your phone. You can do it anywhere. And then after that, like, YouTube, I think it's just such a fantastic resource in terms of, like, yoga for back pain, and there's 100 different yoga lessons that are specifically focused on back pain. And then afterwards you'll do 10 minutes of mindfulness for a strong day ahead, or a healthy day ahead. And I just literally, earphones in, lie down, and do a guided meditation piece that's on YouTube. And I'll try to find a different one every day, but a different one suited to how I'm feeling or what's coming up. So I'd love to say I'd love to be a master of this or at such a level, but in actual fact I'm at such a surface kind of consumable level, but it's what works for me.
Yeah, it's nice to see this, like YouTube, like you're saying, it's kind of, you can take an a la carte of what works for you as well. You don't have to, even when there are like whatever 45 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever flows online with yoga, you can dive in and do their first 5 minutes of a warm up and get into the sun salutations, the down dog, and then just go off and have your day. And you still that stuff becomes, it becomes slightly addictive, doesn't it?
But it's so accessible. So some people would say, oh, I'd love to do yoga, but then they have to go to a yoga studio, they have to join a class. No, you can get out. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit conscious that you're a trainer, but no. But some people might be like, meditation. How do I do that? Whereas you literally type it into YouTube and there is a guide. Now, of course, it's only to a level, and to develop that expertise, you need to work with somebody that is specifically skilled in this area, like yourself. But to be able to have that accessibility is fantastic. And similarly speaking, you're here sitting listening to our chat, but and you were like, here, what is a keto diet? You can literally type into YouTube, what is a keto diet, and you'll have 100 different people explain it, which is fantastic. So there's such accessibility to all this now, whereas a couple of years ago this was quite hard to get at, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, you have to know an expert, you have to have somebody actually on the end of the phone.
I think it's nice to see though that now people are realising that it's not just about looking at your diet, it's not just about looking at what do we take in, but it's also about what do we put in. So many people that we talk to, you ask them on our podcast, like, what are your wellness routines? And pretty much everyone says yoga and meditation in some format. That could be 5 minutes, or it could be 10 minutes, or it could be like a serious practice. But everyone is beginning to realise that there's a link between how you move your body and how you look after your internal body. And I think we spend so much time looking at our external body, and looking in the mirror and we're like, I don't like this bit, or maybe this arm doesn't work as well as this one, or this leg isn't so great. And we kind of talk it to ourselves in these little negative standbites all the time. We don't even realise that we're doing it. It's just become this natural cycle going on. I read this nice thing the other day where they were talking about how would it be if you talk to yourself as if you were your inner best friend, as opposed to as if you were your inner critic. And it really changes things in this kind of quite profound way. But if you take it back to how we all look at ourselves externally, we kind of forget that all the important work is happening inside in our organ body. And what's so great about having YouTube and having yoga classes and practitioners now is that you can go and do a class for your organ body, you can go and do a class for kidney strength, you can go and do a class for digestion, for strengthening your immune system, so that you can be working on, yes, what we put into our body, yes, how do we look after our mind, but we can also look at how can we actually relate to the organs in our body and begin to listen to them, so that when you do that check-in in the day, you're going, like, how is my liver feeling today? Do I even know where my liver is in my body? How do I relate to that? Or, was I drinking last night? How is my liver feeling today? And that might be kind of relative for lots of people listening. Or, how is my stomach feeling? Yeah.
How does alcohol relate to all this wellness? Do you guys agree? I'm actually wondering, like the ingredients and everything.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start, and then you can go on to the more acceptable one. So I don't drink. I haven't drank since I was 18. The last day of my school exams actually was my last drink.
If you ever want to hear that story, go on and listen to our podcast about addictions. It's a bit of a funny story. We might not tell it again here, but go and listen to it.
But needless to say, for me, it wasn't so much that I was looking at alcohol and going, alcohol is bad. It was just my response to alcohol, that I felt like it wasn't that I was drinking alcohol and going, wow, partying, this is great. It was more like a stressful thing is about to happen, I think I'll have a drink now. And I just recognized that happening myself and thought, I don't think that this is an entirely healthy thing. And also just, I'm someone who would naturally be slightly socially awkward. And at that age I was like 18, 19, and I wanted to know that, I kind of felt like I wanted to be able to rely on myself and know that I could go into social situations without needing a crush to rely on. So it was a bit like an experiment that you did, where if I take alcohol out of the equation just before I go and travel for a year on my gap year, and I come back from my gap year having made friends and succeeded in situations, I'll go, you know what, I can choose to drink or not, but I actually know that I can rely on myself in those situations. So that's me, but it doesn't come from like a judgy place.
A judgy place. I do drink. I stopped drinking during the week about 3 or 4 years ago. Not through any like massive sense of like addictive capacity of alcohol, but I just felt that not the quantity of alcohol I was consuming, but the regularity of it from what I've read, is not a great idea, and I certainly feel better as a result of not doing that during the week now. So like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll have a few cans or I'll go for a pint with friends, no problem at all with that. But kind of Monday to Thursday and sometimes Friday as well, just kind of, the more you do it, it kind of sustains itself. But I think a lot of the things that I read about these days, it's about the phasic nature of doing them. It's about this like dipping in and dipping out. Chronically doing anything, like chronically doing the keto diet, there's some major long-term negative consequences of that, possibly. There's lots of suggestions. Chronically doing veganism, chronically taking, too much salt in your water. Everything you do, kind of like, if you do it with real regularity, can have some negative consequences. So for me, it's just about like switching it on, switching off, and knowing I have the power to switch it off is kind of that's the life for me. And kind of like what Lydia was saying in terms of social awkwardness and being able to kind of go, okay, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to insist on myself not doing it, and still know that I have some damn willpower. There's something inside here that I can actually say no to things, which is, I don't know, I find it tough, to be honest.
I think also it's about that thing, coming back to that thing you were talking about giving it a rest. So with the intermittent fasting, what's so good about it is you're giving your digestive system that period of rest. So in drinking, it's like that as well. If you're drinking every day, you never give your liver that chance to just rest and detox and process stuff. But it's also about, if you live well, generally, if you make good choices with your food and your health, your exercise, your sleep, then you enable yourself to come to something like this and then have a couple of days when you go mad, because you know that you're going to have the ability to recover afterwards. However, if that's your general pattern where you're going mad constantly, then those organs that are dealing with those toxins don't get that chance for that, right?
But it starts to have an effect on your lifestyle, your relationships, all those things. I really notice the difference in terms of just like self-awareness in that midweek. I'm just much more disciplined in my thoughts when I'm kind of disciplined in my actions. It's kind of that inward-outward thing. I find, anyway, it helps for me. Our talk's really boring because it means everything's like a little bit about balance, and that's basically what it is. It's the truth. It's like everything in moderation is not going to sell, it's not going to make any headlines, it's not going to sell any newspapers, and as a result, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it's really interesting to experiment. It's interesting to see where the extremes are. Jamie here as an extreme, but like all of us to some degree, like practicing as extremists in different kind of disciplines, but all realizing at some level that it's a bit about doing a bit of this a lot of the time, doing a small amount of this some of the time, and just kind of finding your own level with it. We all know internally usually when something's kind of out of control. We know when something's kind of working for us at some level. It takes a lot. Sometimes it takes an external influence to wake us up to that, like somebody saying, listen, you need to cop onto yourself or whatever. But most of us have a little internal physician or whatever, like a little inner critic or whatever it is that's kind of like telling us the right thing. Certainly with like,
do you know what, I jump in on that point. I think Lydia was talking about it earlier, that there's a woman called Alison Canavan, and she has this fantastic saying. She goes, it's an inside out world. And so oftentimes when you're feeling a bit shit on the inside, and you compensate that with something on the outside. So you're feeling a bit crap, so you'll go shopping, or you're feeling a bit crap, so you'll go drinking, or whatever it might be. But the fact of the matter is, it's an inside out world. So how it is that you're feeling on the inside reverberates on the outside, and you might distract yourself with certain things on the outside to help impact the inside, but it actually does nothing. So if you feel a bit shit, generally the solution comes from within. Does that make a bit of sense?
That makes a lot of sense, I think.
But I think it's so interesting when you look at people. Like, it's a funny question when you're like, here, what do you think of drinking? Like, to be honest, when you're doing anything, you should be doing it to compliment yourself, and you should be doing it to bring out the better you. When you're doing it because there's some feckin' thing inside you, whatever it is that's eating at you, and you're maybe trying to pull yourself away from that, and that's when things are destructive. So when anything here that I suppose has been talked about in any kind of fashion is there all the time to complement whatever it is that you want in yourself. But it's a really, really interesting thing, I think, to always look and go, okay, well, 1 second, is what they're doing compensating? Or sorry, complementing whatever it is that they're going for, or is it compensating for something, or is it covering something up? And that opens up a really, really interesting conversation. Where, like, how often have you looked at a friend and they're like, I'm fine. And like, no, I know you're not fine. And you've seen them maybe go a bit extreme on one end or the other. and you might get distracted whatever it is that they're doing in the extreme, when in actual fact it's highlighting something else that's much, much, much deeper. Does that make sense?
Okay. So it's funny, it's like, it's around that impulse kind of control. And people used to say, like, if you're freaking out, kind of take a breath, just take a breath. And like that Lydia has a bunch of different kind of breathwork techniques that are really quick ways to kind of distance yourself from the emotion, distance yourself from the knee-jerk reaction, which is like to take that, do that external thing, whether it's going drinking or going shopping or whatever, like maybe shouting at your partner or whatever it is, you know. And do you want to maybe explain a couple of those? Because some of those are really nice, easy things for people to get into. If you don't have a meditation practice or you haven't done a lot of this before.
Yeah, so I think a key thing that I was taught when I was training years ago was that the key with meditation and breath practice is that you want to be able to learn to act and not react. So when you're presented with a stressful situation, be that emotional or physical, you want to be able to take a moment to go, hang on, how am I actually going to react to this situation? Am I going to be reactive and respond in this emotional way? Or am I going to be able to take a space and go, okay, how could I actually choose to act that will serve me best and serve the people around me best? So breath practices are really good for this. There's a lot of long-term studies done on breath practices in mindfulness institutes and medical practices around how simple breath practices can affect long-term stress levels and short-term stress levels. So a really simple one is the 4-6 breath. You just breathe in for a slow count of 4 through the nose. It can be like 1, 2, 3, 4. But breathe out for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And is that through the nose or the mouth? Is there? Does it matter?
Through the nose.
Okay, both through the nose.
Ideally, if you can't, if your nose is blocked, it's better to do it than not do it.
Interesting when you do it when your nose is blocked. After 3 or 4 rounds, your nose unblocks.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Nose breathing is amazing. I mean, all the studies show that if you breathe through your nose, it enables you to access that counteractive stress response. So when we take on stress in our body in whatever form, and eating food and digesting food can be stressful as well. So it doesn't have to be an external stressor, or if you're walking around with all kinds of stress all the time. But we're experiencing stress in various different ways. So when we lengthen the distance between our inhale and our exhale, as in the ratio being 4 and then the ratio being 6, or the ratio being 4 and the ratio being 8, what it does is it allows us to drop quicker into our parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the part of our nervous system that responds to healing stress response in our body, to calming us down, to enabling us to sleep better, to breathe better, to react better in times of stress. And another really good one is the 4-4-4-4 breath, which is also known as the box breath, and this combines the breath and the meditation. So you breathe in for a slow count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold that breath in for a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You breathe out for a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold that breath out for a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you're doing that, you're essentially throwing a box in your mind. So you can track that box with your mind, so that your mind stays focused on the breath. And therefore, you're giving your brain that little break from those thoughts that are constantly churning round and round. So you're switching yourself up and giving yourself that little bit of distance between me being my thoughts and my thoughts happening in my body. And those two things not being the same. But you're also getting the benefits of that breath practice. So those are 2 really simple things that you can add into your day. And it can just be a 5-minute thing. It doesn't need to be a 30-minute breath practice.
Sorry, was anybody else practicing that breath technique there?
Right, yes.
It's pretty interesting, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, one of the things, like, I find that when you do it, you quite often notice that you've been, like, your diaphragm has basically been switched off. You kind of go, oh, here's my belly. You kind of go, like, oh, look at this. It's all this expansion, all this extra air I can take in. And one of the important things as well is to hold that breath at the top, but not tense your diaphragm, not tense your chest. Like, allow your breath to float. So if you have a little bit of breath coming in and out of your nose at the top and the bottom of the breath, that's okay. You're kind of, the important thing is to actually relax the breath.
I think also, before you start any breath practice, it's really crucial to put your hand on your belly and just check that you are actually breathing correctly. Because a lot of us do a thing called reverse breathing. So when we breathe in, our belly hollows out, and when we breathe out, our belly fills. And actually the way that we should be breathing is, if you will just put your hand on your belly now, actually, just to check. When you breathe in, you want your belly to be expanding like a balloon, because obviously you're breathing in, you're taking in something. And as you exhale, your belly should be drawing in navel towards the spine. And if it's doing the opposite of that, that's a good indicator that maybe you're someone who lives in a place of stress in your body, or who's having a tough day, maybe didn't sleep enough last night, maybe you're feeling a little bit more emotional. So the first thing before we do those breath practices is to drop ourselves into that low, slow belly breath. And then we can make sure that we're switching on that parasympathetic nervous system.
And so studies have shown that you only need to do this for like 2 minutes a day, and you can like lower your cortisol levels by about 50%. So cortisol is one of the main stress hormones you need to worry about. Like chronic cortisol production robs our body of other important hormones, like, I don't know if you've heard of like melatonin. Melatonin is that hormone that helps us to get to sleep. Serotonin produced during the day, melatonin at night. So when you're producing a lot of cortisol, your body has nothing left to produce any melatonin. So it's an amazing thing for helping you to regulate sleep. It literally just like 2 minutes a day of that 4-4-4 box breath or whatever. And it's so powerful.
And it's also really massively studied for immune system function.
Yeah.
So just doing those 5 minutes, I mean, we're kind of heading in, I don't even want to say it, but we're kind of heading into flu season now. We're kind of reaching towards that time that everyone suddenly starts getting ill again. And a lot of that's to do with the time, the fact that we go back to work, stress levels start raising, and we start to breathe up in the top of our chest. And once we do that, we don't go into our rest and digest. We don't go into that parasympathetic nervous system that heals our bodies and allows us to restore our energy levels and to renew. So if you made a habit of just doing 5 minutes of good breathing a day, it really helps you to boost your immune system and therefore stops you from getting sick.
So can I jump in there? What I think is so fascinating about that is that, like you talked about, a simple breathing technique will reduce your stress by, let's say, 50%. It'll help you sleep better at night. Like, so many people would think, oh no, I'll just take a sleeping tablet. A sleeping tablet will cost a certain amount. Knowing that you actually have that power inside you, knowing that you actually have that control, that's what I think is fascinating. And that's what I meant at the start of this when I was saying the adventure into yourself is fascinating in terms of actually realizing what strength, what control you actually have. I think there's an interesting saying, but I think it's true in so many people, that so many people don't actually own their own bodies. So many people are almost led by their bodies, are completely confused by them. But simple, small exercises like that help us realize actually how powerful or how in control we are. It's fascinating what else is out there if you take it a step further and a step further again.
And I think it's free as well.
Yeah, that's what's mad. Nobody can market it to you. That's why nobody's hearing about it. And unfortunately, we can market it to you, I suppose. We're not charging you for it. And you find it all like on YouTube. It's all within yourself, basically. You don't have to go online, even, to be honest. Once you've heard that 4444, I presume you guys can go home and practice on your own, I think.
You had a question.
Oh, sorry.
Do you remember?
Before that answer in there.
Okay.
So that's like saying like oil meditation there, and into like you're concentrating on one piece and the rest you're breaking that break. Like I was gonna ask about like what's the fundamental difference between say that and like maybe going like rock climbing or something, so you're really intensely concentrating on that, so it's not for anything else.
So, from what I understand of this, like rock climbing, when you get into what's called a flow state, if you're a good rock climber, you start to produce a lot of what's called alpha state brainwaves. Alpha state brainwaves are what you get when you're focused on one task and your mind, your internal chatter is switched off. So it's not beta, which is when you're really in sympathetic nervous system response. You're jumpy when somebody slams the door behind you. So when you're in that alpha state, you begin to like perform more. You know, you can have more creative thoughts. You can kind of like move better in your body. And then the thing is with the meditation is you drop deeper again. So you're the measured by the hertz of your brain, the frequency your body, your brain produces, you drop into like beta and delta or theta and delta brainwaves, and those are what you get in deep meditation or in sleep. So your brain actually starts to recover like neuronal inflammation. So you actually start to recover inflammation in the brain. So you're really helping your body to do maybe a slightly more powerful thing.
If I jumped in there, so step one, like the easiest step forward then is meditation would be like a rock climbing.
Big time. Yeah.
Or doing yoga is your step one into it, and then taking it. Which?
Dancing too, bang on.
Absolutely.
Gardening. Doing anything in a mindful way, though,
It is a picnic, yeah.
But
No,
it's about that, isn't it? It's just about attention to task. And if you let yourself be absorbed into that task, you switch off those brain thoughts that are just churning around and making yourselves on that kind of cycle. But what Finn's saying is the science behind it is once you've done those basic things, once you're able to do something like that to a mindful level, if you want to really affect change in your life, then a deep meditation allows you to get into those deeper states which make changes in your brain.
What I think is the interesting thing is, say for example, you try to go rock climbing and you whip out your phone and you start trying to text at the same time. I think it has a dramatically opposite effect of if you're wondering how you can get stressed out pretty damn quickly, it's exactly that.
Weirdly though, contradictory to that, there's like studies that have shown that we can learn much better when we're exercising. So if you get people on steady state bikes, static bicycles, and you get them to like read information, they actually show that they learn better than people who are just sitting down in a chair reading that same information.
Wow.
So there's something weird about having your body doing something to distract itself. I don't think they understand why it's happening, but there's definitely something about like exercising and learning at the same time.
interesting.
It sounds like too much to do, but I don't know.
No, I just think it's so funny. For me, it's awful, but I just cannot drive without texting at the same time. It's like weird. I get.
You didn't say that.
We
Yeah.
don't endorse that.
No, like there's no endorsing it. It's awful, and like none of my friends will actually hop in a car with me. But like for some reason, dude, and then I walk out of a car afterwards and I'm like, oh my god, driving is so stressful. It's like, of course, driving in itself isn't stressful, but when you're trying to do 2 or 3 different things at the same time. I just think it's interesting when you overload your system, the consequence of that, and how that's somewhat similar to, well, I'm just going to do yoga or rock climbing or something like that, and how therapeutic that is, and how destructive that is on the other side. But anyway.
Yeah, no, bang on. I was the same when I used to drive to the farm late at night, like a 2-hour drive. I used to get loads of emails done. This is before the van was brought in, and I'd arrived in there like 11:30, 12 at night, stressed out of my mind after a full day in work, kind of like trying to look up at the road and look down at my phone and remember what I was supposed to be saying. And then the van came in, and I had 2 months of very disciplined, no texting while driving, and it was beautiful. I just 2 hours of not just driving and just paying attention to the road. It was very mindful driving. It was beautiful. But I wish it lasted longer. I was more persistent. I'm like you. I have to discipline myself more.
So I push in on that. Do you think as like creatures we are meant to focus on one thing at a time, or are we multitaskers? Because I think there's an interesting gender kind of question on this, but I actually think we thrive when we focus and double down on one specific thing. And as soon as we try to multitask, certainly for me anyway, overload and go hyper stressed.
I think ancestrally, from what we understand, men are built a little bit more focused on kind of provision of food, and women have more of a provision of care.
That I'm in the middle here.
Provision of care.
Oh, really?
It's on. Ding ding. But no, for that's like my understanding of it. I think the thing is that multitasking is actually it doesn't exist. It's a chimera. What we do is we switch between tasks.
And you start switching really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's funny, a lot of people will say, oh, I'm relaxing, I'm watching TV, and they're not just watching TV, they're also on their phones. That's not relaxing. That's definitely not relaxing.
So what we're asking people to mindfully watch Netflix, yeah? Great, why not? Just put down the phone. One thing.
Actually, sorry, so I have my own thoughts on this, but do you think people can actually relax? Like, do you think there's such thing as a relaxing DVD night?
It depends what it's relative to, I suppose. I think it's important, because I think quite often if it's a DVD night, there's also somebody there with you that you're sharing the experience with, that you're kind of relating back to what's going on the screen about, that you can then talk about the next day. So it's good for social bonding, probably.
But let me put in another thing, because I think it's an interesting thing. A lot of people would relax. Like, there are a lot of people's relaxed faces watching TV. Now, of course, there's lots of other complementary things, like you could light a couple of candles, you could sit down on the couch, you could do all that. But the actual exercise of watching a TV, I actually think isn't actually good. I think it's actually really, really distracting. But all the other complementary things that you do around are actually very good.
Okay, well, I think we know that the blue light coming from the screen is a bad thing for a start, because that's stopping you from getting into that rest and digest phase. We need yellow light in the evening in order to calm us down. So yes, definitely, the screen is not doing good for us in that way. But I don't think. I mean, there's some change around, like, stuff around kind of childcare stuff at the moment, isn't there, in terms of kids and how we always thought that video games encourage or enhance ADHD qualities, and they think that actually might not be so true. I think there's some studies that have contradicted that.
I think it depends. It's very much dependent on what your child is presenting with around that, because it depends on high stress responses and how close to the screen they're sitting, what's the thing that they're doing, how is it tapping into the way their brains are working. But what I see with my kids is for sure that if I let him watch something that's like a nature program or an animal program or something like that, he stays pretty relaxed. But if he is allowed to go on YouTube, it's like he turns into a child of crap, and afterwards he's like angry and aggressive and crazy.
Like Finn at age 7 watching the A-Team, like diving off the couch and whatever, hurting his sister. Oh dear. Did a lot of that.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the studies show that if you have, say, 20 minutes to relax during the day and you choose TV or lying down with your eyes closed to clear Shavasana, something like Shavasana relaxation is much more beneficial to your body. So the facts are there that watching TV isn't as restful as, say, doing nothing and just listening to your body. But for a lot of people, they're coming from a day that's high stress, they're doing a lot of stuff, they're having to make decisions all of the time, and when you're really, really tired, sometimes you just want to be able to just take that moment to go, it's too hard for me, I'm not at the stage in my life or in my choices to be able to go, I can go from that to doing absolutely absolutely nothing. And I think that's a good interim first
So it's
step.
comparably relaxing
Yeah.
in itself.
But let's say at the end of your TV show, you literally took 2 minutes to do box breathing. Like, that's not hard. Watch the show, have the box breathing, go to bed.
Sorry, don't get me wrong, I love watching TV. I just think it's really interesting that a lot of people instinctively think, oh, I'm doing this and it's relaxing, when in actual fact it might not necessarily. Like for me actually the most interesting one recently was exercise. That we all consciously think that exercise is de-stressing, but there's a lot of exercise that's actually really stressful. Like if you play a five-a-side with some of my mates, that's hyper stressful. And if you go to the gym, I live with a personal trainer, a guy called Stefan Fusco, and
if you go with him?
And if you go to the gym with him, like my God, that's stressful. But for me, for a long time, I thought, no, going to the gym and doing this, that's de-stressing. When in actual fact, no, that's actually stressful.
So Stefan Fusco's his entire life is his income is based around that this thing is de-stressing. What is he going to be happy with you saying this out loud? How does he feel about like how does he take his gaps and what does he do to chill out?
Well, no, like we're all like stress in some capacities is obviously really, really good, and like the work he does as a personal trainer is outstanding. But people being very, very stressed and going, do you know what, I'm so stressed, I should go to the gym to unwind and de-stress. And if they do a very stressful session in the gym, the only thing that they're going to do is wear themselves out or burn themselves out. And so he's actually really, really conscious of this as well. I don't think he appreciated that I was going to him to de-stress versus re-stress. But like, you obviously need to put your body under a little bit of stress if you want it to grow and if you want it to thrive. But if you've got a lot of other stressors going on, perhaps you don't have the capacity to allow for that.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that people do it is because it's the only way, like when they do that high intensity activity where they literally, their body can't think anymore, and they go to, like, let's say Soul Cycle in London, where you're in a dark room with like intense music, red light, and you're just going on a bike for a solid hour and a half, whatever it is, at like close to peak intensity. It's kind of like what yoga is supposed to do to you, but without that kind of like depth of awareness.
But are we talking again about comparatively relaxing?
Yeah, I think we are, exactly. But I guess if that's the first way in for somebody to get into that space, then maybe they start to do yoga on 2 days and Soul Cycle on 3.
It's mad if somebody is, living a highly stressful life and they think what they're doing is therapy, when in actual fact, no, that's still highly highly stressful. It's just comparably a little bit less stressful to what they're doing. So all they're doing is they're one stress and another stress and another stress, when in actual fact, probably the very best thing they could do is sit in a dark room, lie on their back and do some breathing exercises, which is mad to think that would actually be the most beneficial thing they could do.
The thing is though that we have a tough time giving ourselves permission to do nothing.
Big time.
We feel like in order for us to be able to be allowed to do nothing, we have to do something first. So we go, okay, I'll go to the gym, I'll work out really hard for an hour, and then I can lie in front of the TV, or then I can do my shavasana. And we kind of need to get to a point where we go, there's eating, there's breathing, there's sleeping, there's drinking, and there's rest.
Sorry, what a brilliant point. It's just how difficult it is to actually just do nothing. Like, think about it, so many of you guys are here at this festival, and like, certainly for me, when I go to a festival with some people, they're like, we need to do this, and we need to do this, we need to do this, and we need to do this.
Game plan,
And suddenly the festival becomes stressful, but in actual fact, no, I'm just going to lie down here and enjoy my buzz. And that, for some people, I think that is amazing, but it's actually so hard to do.
It's so hard to do because I think, we have this idea. I think somewhere along the line in the last, I don't know how many years, it became this thing that busy is good. And you know it, you hear your friends go, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I just do loads of stuff, and they go, wow, that's so great. And you're like, no, not great. That's actually kind of stressful. It's really nice. You just don't feel that you have the permission when someone says, like, how are you doing? You're like, great, I've got this really good work-life balance, I'm taking 3 days off a week, I'm sleeping loads, I'm resting loads. People kind of go, oh, okay. And they kind of look like,
it's like you're topping out of life.
You're a non-achiever person. Whereas in actual fact, we need to look at what is the passion of our life. So if we're in a job, say me, and my job is physical and teaching yoga all day long, but say the type of yoga that I was teaching was restorative yoga, and I was just doing chill yoga all day long. What I need at the end of the day is to go do like a power class or something that's cardio, that's not the same level of intensity as my day, and that would be really beneficial for me. But when I'm going into corporate settings teaching yoga, and those people are having to make high stress, high intensity decisions all day long, they're maybe staying out till 9, 10 at night, they're making big decisions, they all gravitate towards vinyasa flow, or ashtanga, or power yoga, or cycling or running, because it's another bit of their comfort zone. They're so used to going and going and going and going that when they want to stop, they just want to go and go. And they come into class and they're like, let's do a fast flow today. And they're like, no, what we're going to be doing is like yin yoga, and we're going to be moving slow. And the people don't gravitate towards that, because when we take that time to move slowly, we actually begin to listen to what our body's telling us. And our body starts going, I'm really tired right now, or I really need to breathe. And sometimes that's hard for us to hear. So I think that's where the difficulty is that people gravitate towards their natural pattern. And what we need to do is look at what is the pattern in our life, and that's going to be different from person to person. If you're a slow life person, you can do a high intensity exercise. If you're a high life person, you can do a chill exercise.
Sorry, as you're talking, the thing that's interesting me at the moment is sometimes we're doing things because we want to do this and we want to do this. When in actual fact, is it whatever we're doing is giving us a good beneficial effect, or is it the fact that we're doing nothing whilst we do it, then that gives us a better effect? So, for example's sake, if I get a massage, right, am I getting the benefit from the massage, or am I getting the benefit from closing my eyes and actually just completely conking out? And actually, which is giving me a better effect? Now, it'd be pretty hard for me to actually just lie on my back for an hour and just do nothing. But once
if you pay 70 quid to do it,
exactly,
you're going to lie down.
But that's permission, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it though?
But when you break it down, actually, which is actually giving you the better, like the massage, or actually just the zoning out for an hour? Interesting thing. I think really interesting. Giving yourself permission to do absolutely nothing is probably one of the more challenging things all the time, but it's probably one of the most therapeutic things. If you're going going back to the very start of this, when we were talking about biohacks, what's the number one biohack? Do nothing.
Give yourself permission to do absolutely
nothing.
I love
Start with nothing and go from there.
I think it would be nice to around that is just to kind of go back over what are like our 4 top takeaways for biohacking. What are the cool things that people could do in their lives that would make?
I think we just got one.
So we got one. Do nothing. Yeah. And I think that's actually fantastic. So if actually what I think I might do is just go out there and just collapse somewhere and do nothing for a little while. I think that's probably number one benefit.
Then start your day with thinking about your head first, so getting your head in that right place.
Well, if we complemented doing nothing with breathing, I think that's our number 2.
Yeah.
So doing nothing, number 1, breathing, number 2. I have to throw gratitude in there, because I think gratitude is I think reinforcing positivity in your head is so important, because there's all these distracting negatives, and if what you hear in a given day is negative, that's going to have a consequence. But if the very first thing you're putting into your head is just anchoring and a positive, that's going to have good. So
how do you do your gratitude?
I'm getting really carried away here.
Did you have an angry and positive there?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole different. That's a segue. We can't go there right now.
Okay.
So go on. Sorry.
How do you do your gratitude? Like I do five good things. So when I'm sitting with my son, I have a 4-year-old. We start and end our day with 5 good things. So we just say 5 good things. It could be about ourselves, or it could be about each other, or it could be about our lives. So we just listen to each other. We start the day like that, we end the day like that. And I find that it really helps to reframe what's happened in your day, whether your day's felt like it. You might kind of have that overall day thing where maybe only one bad thing's happened to you in the day, but that's the thing that's still sticking in your head, and you have this overall feeling of this is a really shit day. But when you make your 5 good things, you realize, oh, actually, 5 good things happened today, 1 bad thing happened. So it's back on balance. That was a good day, and you go to sleep in this thing like, oh, actually that feels kind of nice, rather than sitting in that negativity. So that's how I do it. How do you do it?
Mine is really simple. When I wake up, I don't get out of bed until I've thought of 3 things that I'm just really appreciative of. Now, to be honest, when I'm feeling negative and shit, that's really difficult. And it's amazing how your head just doesn't think of it, and you have to really force yourself.
And it can feel immensely superficial when you're telling yourself positive. You're like, no, just say it, just write it down.
It's like a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like training. It's training anything in your body.
And the times you most need it, the times are the most challenging. And then on the flip side of that, when I'm going to bed, I'm knackered when I'm going to bed, but I won't let myself relax until I've thought again of 3 things that I'm really appreciative for. And I just think it's a really, this, we're all familiar with, don't watch some mad violent movie before you go to bed, because that'll affect what your head is. Or your cheese.
Or whatever.
But the idea of actually anchoring your head into really positive thoughts before you go to sleep has to have a therapeutic benefit. And for me, I notice an impact. I can't quite describe it, but I notice a really strong impact from it. And the same as well in the mornings. What I just find is interesting is I notice it at the end of the day, the days that I didn't do it in the morning versus the days that I did.
If you guys want to read more about that, have you heard of Bruce Lipton at all? Look up Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, or really go watch his thing online. It's insane because he's like a cellular biologist, but he has amazing. He was kicked out of his university because he found he basically did an experiment that demonstrated that our cells changed in response to how we thought. And since his research from 20 years ago, a lot of stuff has come along to kind of carry it with him. It's epigenetics. It is epigenetics. Oh, there's a whole topic that we didn't get to. Oh well, later.
Basically, what it boils down to in essence is that we have the power to change the makeup of our body, right? So, and we've heard that a million times, but it kind of sounds like this hippie, esoteric thing that people are like, hey, just stay positive, everything will change. But what he proves in his scientific studies is actually, if you think positive, literally change the structure of your body.
Sorry, in a very, very simple way of exempling that is the placebo effect.
Yeah.
Like it's hammered through the placebo effect, and everybody, I think what I think is really interesting is that people don't bridge certain points. So we all know about the placebo effect, but then when you say to somebody that thoughts manifest into reality and thoughts can actually make fundamental changes in your body, people go, oh no, I'm not too sure, but they know this.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting when you're having conversations with somebody and they know this, and all they have to do is just take that point and put it on top of this, and it makes sense, but they don't.
They disconnect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, it's interesting. There's a really nice analogy about that whole epidemic thing. That your life is a gun, then the genes are the bullets going in the gun, but it's your lifestyle that pulls the trigger, and it's really true. So you if your lifestyle is one way, so there's what's the lady, the actress who had the double mastectomy as a result of her genetic, she had a huge actress, married to Brad Pitt for a long time. There we go. So she had a double mastectomy based on this genetic proclivity that she found out she had that was 50% likelihood that she'd get breast cancer. She went straight away and had a double mastectomy as a result of that. And there's an awful lot of people who followed suit with those types of things, studying their genes and then going and acting directly on them. But there's an awful lot of contravening science that would say it's actually what we believe and how we live that changes what our genes express.
So let's pull back to Lydia's point, because you want to get your 4 takeaways.
Yeah.
But I raced ahead with you, but actually I wished I kind of should have.
15 minutes out.
We're not leaving.
Okay, all right, number 4.
I'd love to hear your 2, 3, 4. Would you say number 1, do nothing, number 2, breathing, number 3?
You know what I love? I think all the things you're saying are bang on. Michael Pollan, do you know Michael Pollan? He wrote a book called Cooked. He's an amazing kind of foodie anthropologist guy, and he has this great, very simple line, which is eat food, mostly plants, not too much. And I think that just caps it for me in terms of nutrition.
Okay.
If people are going to, I think we get totally, flustered, like the amount of science that's around, the amount of crap that I talk. It's so easy to get, totally overwhelmed with what I should do, what I shouldn't do, whether I should keto or vegan or whatever. But if it's eat food, mostly plants, not too much. Cool. I think that's
I think also a nice way to look at it is, and we talked about this a bit before, is micro actions for macro change. And so I think a lot of times when we want to change in our body and change in our diet and change in our life and change in our relationships, we kind of go to that end point of, okay, I have to do this, I'm going to go on a keto diet. And it's too much, too soon, and then we fail. And when we fail, we feel worse about ourselves than when we really started. So I think sometimes it's about taking those little baby steps, and all those little baby steps add up to make the biggest amount of change. So if you're looking at changing your diet, taking that simple thing of just going don't eat too much, eat a lot of plants, that's kind of it.
Don't do the 1 for 1 if you're drinking today. Do the 1 for 1. Do yourselves a favour. If you can, so 1 glass of water for every pint. That'll be amazing. And you're looking great today. You're looking fresh as a daisy. So much water as well. Great.
So much liquid and so
I was hoping you were going to be like a shot for every pint, rocking. No, but let me pull us back. So, because I'm really interested in saying my 4 points versus your 4 points versus your 4 points. Now I'm conscious, obviously, of time. So if we do need to get pulled off, pull us off.
I don't know.
Are we done?
Do it we're actually 15 minutes out. Oh, we have 5 minutes. Okay. Versus my 4 points. Okay, so mine are all annoying nutritional ones. Your headspace ones are all the ones.
Okay, but one second. So you can go on the nutritional, right? But I want to hammer this point out. Say somebody is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody is all over the place. You've got to. I don't want to say we all have a mate that is, but no, like I want to say if you're looking at somebody who in every capacity is all over the place, right?
Okay.
And you're saying, okay, well here are my 4 strongest hacks, that these will make the biggest impact on you. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Whoa, that's tough. Okay, so definitely, I think start drinking water.
Cool.
I don't think you can do any worse or do any better than taking 2 minutes of breathing a day. Think before you put something in your mouth. Just think for a second. You know, it might make you make a change, it might not. 4, this is tough. Like, this is really tough. There's nothing that works for everybody.
Just from your experience.
For me, what's made changes for me? Drink a little less coffee.
Okay.
That's made a big difference.
Okay.
Small things.
So somebody here is like broken.
Treat herbs like food. That's it. Anyway, there we go. Over to Lydia.
Oh wow, gosh me. I think for me checking in is a really important one. So taking the time every day to just check in with how your body's actually feeling on all the different levels. So not just how is my muscles feeling, how is my joints feeling, that stuff, but also like where are my emotions at today, and then where is my breathing at today, and then where are my thoughts at today. And I think if you do a little inventory of that stuff when you start your day, it gives you a really good idea of how can you make choices that serve you well as you move forward into your day. I think number 2, if you were really going, okay, my life's in crisis and I need to make change, but I don't really know what are the best changes that will serve me, and I maybe only have the mental strength right now to make 3 or 4, there's a thing called the wheel. I've talked about it in other podcasts. You can download, it's a little printable online. It's basically a little circle that looks like the spokes of the wheel. There's spokes coming off it. It's divided into maybe 6 or 8 sections, and one would be relationship, one would be health, one would be eating, one would be sleep, one would be work. And you fill in the spokes of that wheel as to how you're feeling in this moment about those things. And then you get this little circular thing. In an ideal world, it would be smoothly circular, up at 10. 10 about my health, 10 about my love life, 10 about my job. But in reality, it looks a bit more like this. And then what you do is you think about, like, how bumpy is my ride right now if this wheel is a snapshot of my life? And where are the areas that I can fill out a little bit more to make this ride a little bit smoother? And then that gives you an idea of, okay, the thing for me really is stress. So if stress is your thing, breathing would be the next thing. Whereas if it was your work that was stressing you out the most, you might think about, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to change my job? Do I need to lessen my hours? Or do I need to make an approach to my job a little bit different? So that's a really good way of checking in. And then obviously, you know, I teach yoga, so yoga has to be in there for me. That's a massive one.
Cool, that's great. Do you guys have any questions before we totally wrap up? Or do you want us to go? We'll probably go away. We've got goodie bags to give everyone because you all sat there so quietly and actually seemed to engage. I hope you were awake. But thank you very much for staying and listening. I really mean that. We'll be back here again at 2:30 tomorrow. Finn and Lydia, not without Jamie though. So thank you very much, Jamie, for this one.
Absolute pleasure.
Nice one. And tomorrow we'll be talking to John and Karen, who are amazing shamanistic practitioners, and they actually look at the subtle energies around the side electric picnic, and they design where each tent is going to go once before the build ever takes place. So it'll be a really interesting talk on like looking at kind of their investigation of subtle energies and the sort of work they do in prisons and all sorts of amazing things. So 2:30 back here tomorrow again. Hang on a second, I'm going to get you goodie bags. Anything more to finish?
No, just if anyone's interested in hearing more about what Jamie does, or you do some interesting conferences coming up.
Oh yeah.
I'll plug. No, listen here. Don't.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Go.
So you carry.
No, do you know what? I won't plug. I always think it's so nice when people are talking freely, and exactly as you said, I think it's so nice when people talk. There's no agenda, there's no sales pitch, there's no nothing. So I will keep it completely to myself because I just think it's so nice when people are here. You know, you can check in for a few minutes, you can listen to somebody, and then you can check out. There's no agenda whatsoever. So I will take any agenda I have completely out. And just thank you so much for listening, because it's so strange when you've got loads of other things to do. Like you could go up on a Ferris wheel, or you could listen to some pretty good techno down there. So thanks for taking the time out for ourselves. Thank you very much.
This is Jamie White, everyone. And if you want to listen to our podcast, it's Wandering Into Wellness. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube if you want to see video recordings, and you can find us on Spotify as well. So thanks a million.